Hey guys, Mr. Williams here. So this video is going to be a little bit different from a lot of the previous ones. I'm going to share some updates on the coronavirus and what's going on with the greater Charleston area. So that's Charleston County, Berkeley County, and Dorchester County. And I've crunched some numbers and I want to just share with you some general trends that are going on and what I think is going to happen over the next couple of weeks with this virus and what you can expect to happen socially and with everything else that's going on. So first I'm going to share my screen with you guys. And let me get this out of the way. So let's look at this first graph. So this first graph deals with some data points. So right here, this first point is 60 cases. So right now there's about 61 cases in the greater Charleston area. Okay, so I'm just going to round this to 60 to give us a nice even number. Then every 2.5 days it doubles. So 2.5 days from now, we're going to be at 120 cases. Then at 5 days from now, we'd be at 240 cases. 7.5 days from now would be 480 cases. 10 days from now would be at 960 cases. So this is where the alarm bells start going off. And this is what the governor and our superintendent of education in South Carolina start to worry about these numbers, because this is where it starts to get dangerous. And it may not make sense why, but this is an exponential function, right? Because every day it's doubling. And so when you double small numbers, it's not that big of a deal. But when you start doubling large numbers, it goes up very quickly. So by day 12.5, we're at 1,920 cases. Day 15, if that's from today, we'd have 3,840 cases. And then approximately 18 days from now, we're at almost 8,000 cases. And then 20 days from now, we'd be at 15,000. So I just read a report from a USC analyst, and if we were to go 18 days from now, okay, so we start on the 25th, right? So 14 days would be right at the 8th, and then this would be 15, 16, 17, 18. So that puts us right on the 12th. Now, I just read an article about a USC professor who's a data analyst, and he thinks we're going to hit 8,000 cases by the 5th. Now, the reason for that is right now currently testing is behind what is actually going on as far as the coronavirus and the spread. So we're not actually sure of the numbers. It will be more sure as more tests start to come out. So this data is important. And like I said, day 10, this is when it starts to become a bit of a problem for the hospitals, and I'll show you why. Now, if there's 960 people sick, that doesn't mean there's 960 people in the hospital. That'd be crazy, because a lot of people that get it don't even know they have it, and most people don't require hospitalization. So hospitalization is only about 5% of this number. So let's go and look at a different graph, and I'm going to show you what is important to keep, why it's important to keep the hospitals in mind. So now this is a little bit different of a graph, and I have two lines here. I'm going to talk about what they mean. But if we go back, this graph is modeled after the other one. And so right now, yesterday, if it's 5%, so we talk about 5% being the number of hospitalizations for the number of cases that are confirmed. So that puts us at 3. Okay, that's 3 hospitalizations. Now, that's not that big of a deal. A hospital can handle 3 people in quarantine. Then 2.5 days later, you'd have 6. Now remember, if you're quarantined, typically it's about 14 days that they need to keep you in there to make sure. Now, it might not be that long, but we're just going to assume the worst, right? So we're assuming these 3 people need to be quarantined for a full 2 weeks. That takes us to here. So those 3 people are going to be in the hospital all the way to here. And so as these numbers start to get in here, we're going to start subtracting. You know, once I get past here, I'll subtract those 3. They're now gone. Okay. But meanwhile, we're adding new cases. And so at 5 days, I'd have 12 cases. So that's another 6 cases over. So then we keep doubling. So this is going to be doubling as well. 7.5 days, 24 cases. 10, 48 cases. So this is where the numbers start to get scary. Okay. This is the zone where it starts to become what I call the danger zone. And this is the 100 case line. Because once you cross 100 cases, it very, very quickly can be 744 cases. It doesn't take that long, okay? It takes 10 days to go from 3 to 96. And it only takes another 10 to go from 96 to 744. And that's just math. That's just how the virus spreads, and that's that doubling every 2.5 days. So why is this danger zone important? Well, this line right here, this is at 720. This is the maximum number of beds that I calculated that are in South Carolina right now. So currently in South Carolina, I'm sorry, not South Carolina, the greater Charleston area. The greater Charleston area, I looked up online, and it says we have about 1,800 beds. Okay, now 60% of those beds are always occupied. That's just standard. Okay, so in the standard hospital, 40% of the beds are available. So out of those 1,800, that gives us those 720 beds available. So if we were to follow this graph and nothing were to happen, no social distancing, we just let it go, this is why we don't just let the virus just spread. This is why we're not in school now, because if we hit this number, boom, now the hospitals don't have room. You have to call in the National Guard. You're putting up makeshift hospitals, and the virus is just going crazy. And therefore, we can't save the people that need to be saved. People that need to go to the hospital for other reasons other than the coronavirus can't even get a bed. And so maybe they have an illness that's terminal. And so now we start losing people not related to the coronavirus. So this just overloads our system. Our hospital can't handle everyone being sick. It's not designed. It's designed for only a certain percentage of people to be sick. That's why this number right here, this 100, is really crucial. Because once we get over this number, this is where like social distancing, and this is probably where curfew is going to come in. Like we're not going to be allowed out past a certain time of night, or we're not going to be allowed to have anything open. Okay, because right now we still have a bit of freedom, our grocery stores, whatnot, but the essentials are still available. We're still allowed to have freedom to go to places, but they're closing down public parks. And they're already cracking down on groups of 3, because if the model is 5 or 7 days earlier than what we predicted, okay, so 7 days earlier means that instead of being here, right, that means we're already here, okay, if that other model is correct. That means instead of here, we're already here. And so therefore, if we're already at that 7.5 day mark, which is this purple dot, then 10 days later, so then we hit here, which I said this is already getting to be a crucial point. And this is like the point of no return. If we hit this and we don't have any protections and nothing happens and we keep going along this path, it's bad, okay? And we don't want to do that. That's why it's really important to pay attention to the local news, to Mayor Tecklenburg, and everything that people are telling us to do right now. Because I have a feeling it's never going to be a whole nation, because every county and every city is going to have different things going on. Like New York right now, they're in the midst of this they're already in this danger zone, and they're about to be overwhelmed. And that's what we want to try to avoid. Every other city does not want to see what happened to New York. And so this is why it's real important that you pay attention to the news, that you keep yourself informed, and that you don't get into groups of larger than 3, and you keep your social distance from anyone who you think may be sick, and just, general, be safe and stay in quarantine. Okay, so that's all I have for now, guys. If you have anything else you want to learn from me, maybe I'll do another one of these soon. But this is it. Hopefully we're not in this little zone right here already. But if we are, this is it. This is the crucial time, because we don't want to get here. We want what we call flatten this curve. And we want to keep it actually probably under this line. And to keep it under this line, we're going to be in quarantine for a long time, because if we come out, there's still so many people available that we could easily get up above this again. And so that's why it doesn't take long. Like if we were to unquarantine right now, 10 days later, we could be way above this line. And we've all the quarantine we've done is put to waste. That's why we're in this until the end of April. And hopefully we can stay under this line and not overrun our hospitals. And we keep everybody as safe as possible for as long as possible, so the hospitals can deal with those that are sick and deal with each case as they come.